And hi, everybody. We're live here on Facebook with our friends over at Bale Breaker Brewing we like to say Yakima, but it's actually, you guys are actually in Moxie, right?
Yep, technically in Moxie.
And did I pronounce that right?
You did. Yeah, you did.
Cheers to that. So cheers to our friends at Bale Breaker.
Cheers.
I am drinking the latest Clarity Rarity.
That's a good one.
From Bale Breaker, which you can find in stores. I'm in Seattle. You can find in stores around Seattle if you're lucky.
We're pretty excited about how that turned out and the response we got.
Yep. It's a very good beer.
Really great. Look for the Clarity Rarity #2 coming out in early July.
Right on. In early July for the next one?
Yep.
Okay. So for the few people on Earth who don't really know about Bale Breaker, where you guys are at, what the story behind the brewery is, can you give us kind of a quick kind of synopsis, a quickie version of where y'all come from and where your brewery is located and things like that?
Totally. So I'm Megan Quinn. I'm one of the owners here at Bale Breaker. This is my husband, Kevin Quinn, and then my brother, Kevin Smith's around here somewhere. He'll be popping in a little bit. The three of us started Bale Breaker back in 2013. We just had our 7th anniversary. But really kind of inspired us to get into the brewing world was that my family has been in the hop growing industry since 1932. So my brothers and I grew up on a hop farm, loved hops, everything hops, and then decided in the late 2000-ish range that we wanted to get into the game too. So we started Bale Breaker.
That's a very short version of it. That's a very, very short version of it. The first time I met any of your family was when Kevin was working at Two Beers Brewing in Seattle. And that's where he was cutting his chops, getting kind of his brewing chops underneath him before he came over and opened the big brewery with you guys. Yep. But anyway, and one of the things I've always thought was most interesting is, yes, your family, Loftus Ranches, you guys are one of the oldest hop farmers in the valley over there, and a very well-known family, very well-respected farm, and lovely people. But your dad kind of insisted that you guys go out and do something else before you come back to the farm, right? Yeah, he did. He didn't want any of us just to default to coming back to the farm. So all three of us left Yakima, graduated from high school and left Yakima, and all moved over to Seattle. We were all Huskies. Graduated from the University of Washington. That's where I met this guy. Huskies in Cougar country. I know, right? There's actually quite a few Purple fans over here, but so we all left and did our own thing for a while. I was gone from Yakima for about 10 years before moving back to do Bale Breaker. My older brother decided to move back first. He was doing investment banking in Seattle, and he decided he wanted to move back and start taking over the farm from our dad, transitioning it into the 4th generation of family ownership. And it was around that time that my husband Kevin and my brother Kevin, better known as Quinn and Smitty, it was very confusing being married to a Kevin and having a brother as a Kevin and working together. People will always call and be like, "Hey, I talked to Kevin, and I wanted to ask him a question." And I'm like, "Which one?" And like, "The tall one." I'm like, "The tall one." But now that Quinn has long hair, it's like, "Oh, the one with long hair." Okay, cool, got it. But yeah, so it was around that time that we were starting home brewing, and Smitty got a job at Two Beers, and we just kind of thought it would be a really cool way to take what our family had been doing for so many years and connecting the dots from the hop farm and what we're passionate about in growing hops to the end beer consumer, especially at a time when IPAs were gaining so much popularity, craft beer was on a tear. So it just kind of made sense. And I think, we were really lucky we got into the industry at a good time. At the time, we felt like we were getting in a little late. We were in 2013, there was about, 2012. Or 2012, there was around 2,000 breweries in the country. And we're like, gosh, we're getting in this game a little bit late.
And that was also why, having the brewery on the hop farm and being the first hop farm to start a brewery, be able to grow all your own hops, we were like, well, the market is so saturated. And there's so many breweries. We need this really good, true, authentic story and a great brand to help sell the beer in this super crowded market. Little did we know at the end of 2019 there'd be over 8,000 breweries in the U.S. But
Yeah, but like I say, you guys had a great story, and you are the first hop farm that I've ever known of that is on it. Or I mean, a first brewery I've ever known is actually on a hop farm. And that's I remember telling you guys back when you first started, especially telling Smitty that there's going to be a lot of people who are going to say you have an unfair advantage because of your proximity to the hops and because of your relationship with the farmers. But my comment I remember saying, I'm pretty sure it was Smitty. My thing was, the only thing I hate more than somebody having an unfair advantage is somebody having an unfair advantage and not taking advantage of it and not maximizing it. And you guys certainly have done that. So, but your dedication to making really deliciously hoppy beers is one of the things that I love about Bale Breaker. Is like, I'm sure you are capable, and I've had other beers from you that are not necessarily big hoppy forward beers, but your ability to make really, really hop forward beers and kind of showcase what it is that your family's been doing for 4 generations is absolutely cool as hell. So that's my little fanboy thing for you. Right?
Yeah. What was the thing though? Like, use what your mama gave you. It's like, we got to use what our great grandma gave us.
Yeah, your great grandma. Was that Leota? Was that Leota May? That's the one that the beer Leota May IPA is named after, and she was apparently quite a fireball of a woman, huh?
She really was. Yeah. She's without what she did all those years ago, we wouldn't probably have Bale Breaker here today. So
yeah, in the 1930s, managing and running a hop farm.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, every woman in the 1930s was doing that. Anyway, so one of the things I want to talk to you guys about today is the Ales for ALS program.
Yeah.
Which is something that your family has been a major. In case people don't know, Ales for ALS is a program built around a particular hop variety that gets not hop variety, but a hop blend that gets released every year, and breweries across the nation make beers with these hops, and proceeds from the beer benefit the ALS research. And you guys, your family and your brewery have been instrumental in getting this program started. And what can you tell me about Ales for ALS? When did it start? How much money has the whole program earned so far? It's really impressive. So tell us a little bit about that.
It's been a crazy story, and we're so thankful that for all the support that both the brewing community in terms of brewers and beer drinkers have given the program over the years. When we started Bale Breaker, well, I guess back up a little bit further than that. My family has a familial form of ALS in our family. So my mom's dad, passed away from ALS in the late 80s. And then since then, 6 of the 8 children in his family have all died of ALS. So it's a genetic form. And if your parent has it, their children have a 50% chance of getting it. And if you have the gene, you will 100% get ALS at some point in your lifetime, unless something else gets you first. It was something that was affecting that 2 generations above us. And then right before we started the brewery, my mom's brother, my uncle Scott, who we lovingly termed the nickname Bubba, he was diagnosed with ALS in 2011. And so that was when it really started hitting home, and it was, coming down to that next generation. And my mom also had a cousin who was diagnosed around that as well. So like I said before, one of the things that really, made us want to start Bale Breaker was connecting the family farm with the end beer consumer. And so one of the things I'd thought of in the planning stages of Bale Breaker was doing a fundraiser to help my uncle out and calling it Ales for ALS. Just thought it was a cool name. At the time, the Pints for Prostates was kind of a big thing. And so that was kind of like, oh, let's do something locally here. And so I talked to my parents about it, and they were like, that's a great idea, but why would we stop local? We can make this thing a lot bigger. So they came up with the idea to donate a particular hop blend each year. Each year the blend changes, and it'll be, some experimental hops, some commercially available hops. And it's processed, Yakima Chief Hops processes it for free for us, and then does the logistics and shipping out to all the breweries who participate. So last year, I believe, so the very first year we did it, 2013, I think there was about 33 breweries that participated. We raised about $75,000, I believe. It's grown each year. So in 2019, I think there was about 200 breweries participated, if I remember correctly. And year to date, or in the entire lifespan of the program, we've raised about $3.5 million. That's all going to ALS TDI, which is a research-based biotech nonprofit in Cambridge, Massachusetts. So that's really, helped them in their budget quite a bit over the years. They're super proud of this program. And this whole COVID-19 thing is kind of causing a lot of issues with every sector, every industry. Certainly we know what's going on here in the brewing industry. But ALS TDI has had to make some pretty tough decisions on budget cuts, and they actually had to move out of their lab in Cambridge to a less expensive lab. So it's one of those things that's, is impacting them as well, and their ability to progress some of the promising research that they have in the pipeline.
So tell us about Bubba's Brew.
So Bubba's Brew is a beer we brew each year for ALS for ALS. Like I mentioned, my uncle's nickname to us kids when we were growing up was Bubba.
And by the way, Megan, cheers to Bubba.
Cheers to Bubba.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Cheers.
It was his birthday on Sunday.
But Bubba's Brew is a beer that we change every year. So like the first year we actually did a rye pale ale. We've done a session IPA. We've done an imperial Bubba's Brew. We call it Double Bubba. We did our first hazy one last year. And our plan this year is to do another hazy IPA, and we'll can it in 16-ounce cans.
Yeah, so this will be the first year that we release Bubba's Brew in cans. Every year we just do draft only and sell most of it over the counter here in our tap room. And we throw a really big ALS for ALS party at the end of June each year, where we move through quite a few kegs of it. So unfortunately, we made the tough decision this year to cancel ALS for ALS 2020, the big party here at the brewery. But we didn't want the lack of outlets for draft beer to keep us from doing Bubba's Brew in honor of my uncle, especially since he just passed away this year. So we are going to be, in fact, canning Bubba's Brew, like Quinn mentioned, in 16-ounce 4-packs, and be distributing that throughout our distribution footprint and donating $1 per pint, as we would if it was sold over the counter too. So
that's pretty remarkable. That's a lot of beer. You guys, your distribution footprint is. You explain that.
We're in the 10 northern counties of Idaho, all of Washington, and the majority of Oregon. We still don't have like full distribution on like the far eastern side of Oregon, but we cover nearly the whole state, but not really east of Pendleton, and kind of like east of like Deschutes County and stuff, where there's a lot of land but not a ton of people. Yeah. So we haven't dove into that area yet, but yeah, we cover nearly all of the population of Oregon.
So most of the people who follow my blog and most of the people who are probably paying attention to this are in the Seattle area, and the beer will make it over here, right?
Oh yeah.
Yep, we'll definitely get some over there. We're planning to release it probably, so the party was supposed to be June 27th, so we'll probably still release it right around that date. And yeah, we'll probably just do a 30-barrel batch, so it'll be pretty limited. But
we may do more.
We might do more. I don't know. We'll see.
Well, that's awesome, and I'm kind of excited to see it in cans this year. For it to be. I mean, it's unfortunate circumstances, but we're making the best of it, right?
Definitely, yeah. I'm excited to see the cans too.
Yeah, I mean that's one of the things that this whole situation has taught us. You need either to innovate and change what you're doing, or like
perish.
You're not going to survive. Innovate to survive, and so. Yeah, I mean, we've been putting more and more cans. Yeah, we already did a lot in cans, but we got
a lot more coming out this year.
Yeah, we got a lot more coming out this year. So, I mean, and like the drive-through, tap room, contactless, tap room sales we sell it literally right out of the the finished beer cooler door right by the loading dock. They just pull up in their car, we run them through, and then they pop their trunk and we set it in there. I mean, we've said this a zillion times, like especially around our 7th birthday in mid-April. We were like, did you ever think that, you know, on our like 7th anniversary, we couldn't have anyone in the tap room, we couldn't have anyone at the brewery, and the only way we could sell beers is through a car drive-through and putting it in people's trunks. I mean, it was just like,
it was kind of surreal, but
yeah,
you know.
So a couple of weeks ago, I was talking to Chad down the street at Riot, and on Beer 30 on this same thing, and he said, he goes, you know, we won't be able to tell you what we did on whatever anniversary, but I'll be able to tell you what we did on this one. Nobody's gonna forget.
Seriously.
So I guess that's something you can take away from this. But I mean, what else? I mean, I guess what do you guys think we're going to take away from this, other than I mean, this is obviously hurting everybody's draft beer sales, and everybody's learning different ways to work around that. You guys are you're a brewery that has already had already started canning your beer and was already distributing beer through other channels. But are there any lessons that you guys have learned through all of this? Are you going to continue to have drive-throughs every Saturday?
Yeah, right. No, it's certainly a really efficient.
It's
certainly a very efficient way to do a new release. People don't have to find a parking spot and wait in line. You know, I think obviously, like Quinn said, you know, we're going to be releasing a lot more cans now. Even a lot of like our Imagination Station stuff that we've been doing that was a draft only. We're purchasing a labeler so that we can do like pressure, like just the slap-on labels, pressure sensitive labeler, so that we can be a little bit more nimble in putting beer in cans. So that'll be exciting. And then
I mean, it's such an interesting market where like where we're seeing in our national chain and groceries, you know, our national chains grocery store channel, you know, this move up to this larger pack, like 12 packs and larger, is growing like crazy. But then like the movement away from all these experimental and back to like the core beers, you know, Top Cutter, our flagship beer, which had, you know, we've been selling a lot of it, but it kind of been flat or down a little over the last few years, is, you know, shooting up. And Field 41, which is still my favorite beer, you know, had kind of, you know, it's not hoppy, it's not super hoppy, it's not high alcohol, it's not hazy. It had kind of been doing the same thing. Both those were shooting up. I mean, we were doing 300, 400 variety packs a month in January. And this morning, Smitty and I and some of our sales and taproom guys were helping the packaging team. We had to do 1,200 variety packs, and we're going to have to do 12 more in 1,200 more in the next. So now we're up to over 2,500 variety packs a
month. And we'll be doing 1,200 the week after. So we're doing about 4,000 cases of variety packs a month versus like 400 a couple months ago. But yeah, just seeing the switch to kind of the trusted brands or a switch to the larger pack size has been really interesting.
It's funny you mentioned that, because during the shutdowns here, I went as we found out what was about to happen, and I figured I better load the garage up with some beer. Field 41, I went to the store and could have bought anything. I went to the beer junction. Cheers to the beer junction. And I could have bought anything, but one of the beers I wanted to get was I got a 12-pack of Field 41 because it's one of my favorite beers. It's because it's been around for a few years and stuff, I don't revisit it that often. But when I'm faced with this thing, it's like kind of like desert island beers. It's one of the beers that I want to have in the garage ready to go when I want one.
Yeah, totally.
I mean, that's the thing you can see, and it's logical. You know, you're going to the grocery store less, so you're probably going to be getting a larger pack size. And then, you know, even if you are working, you might be furloughed, or as we know, there's, you know, hundreds of thousands of people in the state of Washington that have unfortunately been laid off. So like, you're not going to go spend $10 on a 6-pack and not like it, right? I mean, like Sierra Nevada pale ale sales are hitting levels they haven't seen in probably a decade, you know, and it's just people going back to that trusted brand. And I think for us, it kind of reaffirms that commitment to quality that, I mean, it wasn't until, you know, last summer when we hired Justine for Spokane that our sales team actually now outnumbers our quality team. I mean, it wasn't, and that's 6.5 years in, that we finally got a sales team that's larger than our quality team. So, but yeah, it's an interesting time. But then just to go back to how funny sales are, then when we come to the tap room side, we're doing the drive-through. We're not really selling that much of our core beers, right? Because they're in grocery stores, so people don't want them. So then it's kind of like the grocery stores, we need to focus on the core, and then to get sales out of our drive-through, it's like how can we package, these one-offs and these new exciting ones and the stuff that they can't see there. So it's a weird balancing act.
And one of the other things that we've been talking about for a while since the state changed so that Washington breweries could ship direct to consumer in Washington. We talked about it for years, or not years, but like a handful of months now, and just like, okay, yeah, this is something we can kind of put as a project down the line. And now with all of this, we're like getting that up and going. So we should be launching an online store probably within the next week or so, so we can ship direct to consumer in Washington. And that's kind of like what Quinn's saying will really help. We don't expect that we'll sell a lot of Top Cutter through that outlet, but if we can put some of these the Clarity Rarity and things like that are a little bit harder to find in and get those in the hands of consumers through the mail, then that's just a different thing that we're kind of having to pivot to and to kind of change the way we do things, or it's forced us to do something faster that we've talked about for a while. So they're all challenges, but some of it's exciting and fun challenges too. So got to look at the silver linings, I guess.
Yeah, silver linings are important right now.
Yeah, they definitely are.
Silver lining IPA. Somebody's going to make that beer.
I like it.
I guess we got that to look forward to. Another thing I wanted to talk to you guys about, Chad. We before we started here, you and we kind of talked about a script. But what we want to talk about, I don't really remember it now. One clarity, and I've lost all clarity. Oh yeah, so I know that this is where I want to go. I'm afraid we might be missing one thing, but the Sown and Grown program, your homegrown beer.
Let me
explain to people real quick, and then we'll talk to Smitty or whoever you want me to talk to.
Yeah, I'll tap Smitty.
What you guys are doing, you guys are able to do at Bale Breaker is something that other people aren't able to do. You can make a beer, an all Washington beer, Washington hops, Washington barley, all Washington ingredients. But to have it be like an estate grown beer that's like you're actually growing the hops and you're actually growing the barley. There have been some people in the Northwest who've done that. Rogue has done it, and some other people have done kind of a version of it. But what you guys are doing is unique because your brewery is actually, and your family, it's an actual real hop farm. And now, because you're a real hop farm, and we should point out that Loftus produces more than hops, you guys have always grown other crops. Yeah. And now you're growing barley. So you're able to make a real estate grown beer. Yeah. So let's talk about that sown and grown problem. And the tall guy coming in to the view now is the Kevin that is known as Smitty.
Yeah, the brains behind all the recipes. So if you're enjoying that Clarity Rarity, this was the guy who did the recipe. So
I was enjoying it, but I'm out now. That was the last one we had in the house.
Oh, bummer, man.
But yeah, so I mean, last year when we were kind of thinking, what kind of new beers can we do? We wanted to start being a little more experimental on stuff, but then also, doing stuff to drive home to people that, we are a brewery on a hop farm. We're the only one that grows all of our own hops. Let's tell that story. Let's take advantage of it. Kevin Meg's dad, Mike, had said that he had grown grains back in the 70s when he first took over the farm and was working with Leota May, his grandma. And so we ordered some barley last year. Last year was all Copeland barley.
Copeland is a kind of a pretty accessible. I don't want to say generic. That's not the right term, but a pretty.
Yeah, this may not be like the best analogy, but it'd be kind of like the Cascade of barley.
Yeah, it's a great barley, but it's very flexible.
Very universal barley.
Grows well in a lot of different climates. Is very reliable, and we got it harvested. We only harvested about half the land. Full disclosure, we grew really good barley. We grew on about half of the 40 acres. We grew weeds a lot better than barley, so we couldn't harvest it. But so we still got about 70,000 pounds or so, 35 or so tons, I guess metric tons. And that's what the Sonnegrown that we've been making, Sonnegrown 1 and 2, and then 3 that'll come out. That was made with our 2019 barley. 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, we planted the same 40 acres this year with another year of knowledge, and then we malted the barley at Great Western, 25 tons at Great Western malting, 10 tons at Link malting in Spokane. We had it malted 3 different ways. The stuff at Great Western is Pilsner, and then we got 5 tons of Vienna and 5 tons of Munich. And then so through talking with barley growers and stuff, and I actually went to a barley conference, don't tell my father-in-law, earlier this year. And we decided we were going to do about 18 or 20 acres of Copeland. We were going to do 18 or 20 acres of barley known as Franzen. It's a European variety that's used a lot in Pilsners. And then
Czech, it was Czech Republic, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Exactly.
And so there's a grower, a barley grower that has the rights for it down in Plymouth, Washington. And then since hazy is here to stay, I know we were one of the last people to dip our toe in that water, but it's not going anywhere. We also got some white wheat that we planted and some oats. So hopefully this year we'll malt Copeland, we'll malt Franzen, we'll malt wheat, and we'll malt oats.
Yeah.
So you'll use all those IPAs, right? I mean, you're not going to use that Franzen to make a Pilsner, are you?
Well, maybe a Pilsner. Probably not a Hefeweizen for the wheat, but but it'll give us a little more flexibility. This year we just had the 3 barley varieties, or the 3 malt varieties in Pilsner, Munich, and Vienna. And so trying to craft 3 very different IPAs with some limited ingredients was a little bit of a challenge, but next year with the wheat and the oats, we should be able to offer a couple West Coast IPAs, a couple hazy IPAs, maybe a Pilsner, depending on our yield. But it'll give us a little more diversity in the program after this coming harvest, which will be nice.
We mentioned it before, but tell us again where you do the actual malting.
The malting, we do big batches at Great Western Malting in Vancouver, Washington. They have a system that'll run 20 to 30 ton batches of barley that they can malt at a time. And then Link Malting out of Spokane, Washington. They have 2 5-ton systems, and so they run 5-ton batches. So last year we had, or the malt that we're using in Sonnegrown 3 that's going to be coming out soon is also from those 2 maltsters. So.
Sorry. Do you think that someday you might have your own malting facility?
True.
Oh, that'd be a big project. That's definitely not in the works right now.
Yeah. I mean,
that's a piece of the puzzle that is a lot more complicated than just growing. It's kind of the same thing with hops, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, you grow your own hops.
Big project in and of itself. Yeah. That's a big animal, and so way more comfortable just finding some good partners.
And it's right, and it's like, people should understand that just because we say that you grow your own hops there at Loftus Ranches, is you don't necessarily process your own hops.
Not on site on the farm, and so that's all done at Yakima Chief.
Yeah, and that's a normal thing. Most hop farms don't have their own. And if you are a hop farm and you have your own processing facility, you're processing for a lot of the other farms around you that are growing hops, because it's just processing the same way with barley. Processing it, malting it is different than growing it. Usually it's two different people doing that. Yeah. So is there anything else exciting that's going on over there that you guys want to talk about?
We're about ready to release a beer. Ruben started a project called You Are Not Alone. And we joined into that project. And we're releasing our version of You Are Not Alone a week from Saturday. So yeah, not this weekend, the following.
Let's back up for a sec. The You Are Not Alone program is basically Ruben started it, and it's to benefit Big Table. The original plan was they're going to brew this beer, and it's going to benefit an organization called Big Table, which provides support and relief for people in the food service and in the service industry. Yep. So then they've been a bunch of other breweries to make their own You Are Not Alone beers. So tell us about what you're doing with yours.
So Ruben started the project. They
invited us.
Invited us. We gladly jumped on. We thought it was a really cool idea. And so we're making a 30 barrel batch of a 7.5% hazy IPA. We'll can it in 16-ounce cans, sell it in 4-packs, and all the proceeds will go to.
We actually ended up, since Big Table doesn't have a branch here in Yakima, they support the industry, the restaurant and hospitality industry in Seattle and Spokane, but not directly Yakima. We worked with an organization here in Yakima called I Heart Yakima, and started our own fund. And so these proceeds from the sale of this beer will go into the fund. Is We Are Yakima is the name of the fund we started, and then with the help of I Heart Yakima, we will administer those proceeds to service and hospitality workers here in the greater Yakima area. And and then our good friends at Gilbert Cellars Winery are here in town, they're going to bottle You Are Not Alone or a We Are Yakima wine, and they're also going to donate to the cause. Oh, and they're hopefully going to donate it, hopefully release it next weekend for the wine, and then we'll be the weekend after for our beer.
And what's the distribution going to be like on that beer?
It's probably going to stick right here in the greater Yakima area. With a 30 barrel batch, we're only projecting about 250 cases. If it's anything like our Clarity Rarity release a few weeks ago, we can probably sell over 100 cases of that on the first Saturday.
Right. The drive-through is going to account for a lot of it, isn't it?
Yeah. And then the direct shipping that we were talking about, the plan is we will launch that direct shipping option with that You Are Not Alone beer launch too. So if people outside of the Yakima area do want to get it, you could order it and we'll ship it to you.
Very cool. More questions? Does anybody out there have more questions? Anybody that's watching us on Facebook right now? We're not seeing a lot more questions come in, so if anybody's got anything, this is your last chance to ask. What are you drinking there? Quinn?
Kevin and I are actually both drinking the Hazy L IPA. I guess one other thing we could throw in there. I know earlier here you said you love our dedication to hop forward beers and showcasing Yakima Valley hops. We purchased 250 barrel horizontal lagering tanks from Icicle in the fall and had them shipped down to our tank manufacturer in Vancouver and had them glycol jacketed and insulated. And we should get the glycol valves hooked up this week. And so we'll probably brew our first production size batch of a Pilsner in a couple weeks.
Yeah, hopefully.
Right on. That's good.
Look for that in cans this summer once it starts warming up a little bit.
Yeah.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Tell me about the hop profile on that Pilsner.
Yeah, so it's actually kind of interesting. So part of what I've always wanted to do here is, regardless of the beer style, always feature Yakima Valley hops. And so obviously Pilsner's not really a West Coast craft. Obviously it's growing, but it didn't like originate here. So it's a pretty simple malt base, just a lot of Pilsner, no specialties. But the hop profile is basically bittered with Simcoe for a nice gentle bitterness, and then flavored through late boil and whirlpool with Palisade and American Noble Simcoe, which is a kind of like a hop derivative, basically where they take the Simcoe hop, they'll extract the cryo, and you can use it for like IPAs. And this is like the leftover part of that process. It's called like the bract, and so it's really low in alpha, but it's got like a really nice floral flavor. It's kind of like a nice little noble European hop, but everything grown in the Yakima Valley. So yeah, basically it's a Palisade and Simcoe Noble beer. So,
and how are you going to package that? Are you going to can that?
Yeah.
It'll be 12-ounce 6-packs to start off with, and so
nice.
Maybe it'll move its way into.
Might get some 16 ounces of it. You never know.
Yeah, you never know. Maybe 12 packs. Hell, 30 bombs if people are wanting it.
The peanut gallery here at the Washington Beer Blog World Headquarters just saying want.
Oh, with the pressure sensitive labeler, that's one of the first ones that we know we'll be able to do some small runs of and get that out in cans. That's a real local fan favorite and everything. And we've never had big distribution of it, and it's always been like right on the cusp of being like one of our next canned beers. And so with this labeler, it'll give us a really good option to get that out in cans and kind of test the market without like maybe getting in over our head and jumping in a little bit too far.
202,000 12-ounce cans of it. Yeah.
Okay, if you guys have, I'm not seeing any more questions roll in on the Facebooks. No.
Yeah, I mean, I would say the only last thing that we would want to say from Bale Breaker is we're thinking about everyone else in the craft beer community and our fellow Washingtonian breweries. And so if you can go out and support your local brewery, it's been a real rough time in the industry. And so if you can get out there and support everyone, please do it. We're thinking about you here from Moxie, the hop capital of the world. So if you can go out and support your local brewery, whether it's buying it at the grocery store or buying it direct from the tap room, we'd encourage everyone to do that so we can have as many of us still around when this crazy time gets over and we get to restart life again.
Yeah, right on. Well, thank you guys so much for your time. This has been a great conversation. You've got me drooling a little bit over the beers we talked about that are going to be coming out. And good luck with everything. Stay safe, stay healthy, and all my best to all of your families. I miss you guys.
Awesome. Good to see you, Kendall.
Yep.
Bye.
Take care. Bye-bye. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.